Hey everybody, Brad Linder back at you again with another card of the day. I know this one's a little later than expected, but I had some errands I had to run and get out of the way that had to get prepared because my daughter's going to be coming home in a couple of weeks, and I had to get some repair work done on my truck. Uh, had a belt start squeaking on me this morning. I had to get that all nice and safe, get the oil changed and tune up and all that good stuff. But anyway, long story short, back at you with another card of the day, and we're going to be doing the original Wasp. This is Janet Von Dyne, Henry Pym's wife, and I'm going to take a second to share this over with the channel and the page so everybody can follow us, and then we're going to get started right into this. Hey, John. Glad you made it, buddy. Okay. Reaching for the mouse. Let's see. There we go. Cool. This should be a fun and easy one because she's only got a couple of colors. And I'm pretty quick with this one because I've drawn this a bunch of times. Hey, Matt. I've done this probably, I don't know, 10, 15 times, something like that. But anyway, I'm going to be doing the suit here in a light blue. This is the blue and red suit. So we've got this underlay. This is the 1960 style suit. So she's going to have this blue uniform. It's technically black, but it's a jet black, so they highlighted it blue. So it would show up in the original printing. And that's what they had around at the time, so that's what they colored her. And then this bright part here, the corset and overlaying vest is bright red. So she's going to pop off of this as one of my most colorful cards for sure, because it's primary colors and she is just phenomenal. So I don't draw many of the ladies, but I do love drawing these characters when I get the opportunity. It's just easier to draw the guys because they're, the rough and tumble poses that everybody likes to see, and it makes for a lot better read in most cases. Most cases for drawing cards. I stumbled over my words here. I'm tired, but it's late in the evening for me, so as you can tell, it's been a long day. But anyway, what I mean is that it's just more comfortable for me to draw men, the male characters in comics, because that's what I'm used to, and I know every artist either has trouble with one or the other, but they rarely have trouble with both. But I mean, that was the thing that I was taught to draw. It's growing up as an 80s kid, it was the whole masculine movement of last man standing, where you have every male figure, don't draw the girls, man. Don't draw the babes unless you're drawing, the babes or hot chicks or whatever. And it's just, yeah. And then you get into that and you want to say, okay, I'm going to draw, these heroes for these dudes because I want to draw these cool comics. And that's what you get pressured to do. And that's what you end up doing. Fortunately, I didn't have too much pressure from that. It was just, peer pressure more than anything. It's like, oh, don't draw her, draw this, draw that, And I was that kid in school that everybody, saw as the annoying guy that would draw comics. And, I was the artist guy. And that's what everybody wanted me to do, was to draw, pretty pictures and whatnot. And the guys that wanted me to, draw girls, and, they always wanted the chick pick type stuff, the hot pinup like their dad's garage or whatever. And that wasn't, it's not that I'm not attracted to that stuff. I'm very much so. It's just, and to each their own. But what I'm saying is, I just don't like to, draw that kind of stuff. And then later in life, I ended up getting married and whatnot. And I have a daughter, that is home with me, and I don't want that kind of influence around her. I want her to have positive role models. So I'm very picky about what I draw, specifically where women are concerned. So, I'm doing the good dad thing, and got to take care of that. And I want her to be raised to where she understands that she can do pretty much anything she wants without concern of that getting in the way. So now this seam line that I'm drawing here, as a side note, the seam line that I'm drawing goes up underneath the thumb, right behind the thumb, and cuts back. and it's got an open side type of look. So that goes right up underneath there. And we have that going on right across the shoulder, which is awesome. And I'm using these watercolors tonight because they're a little bit brighter for this type of open work. And I'm experimenting with them a little bit to get cleaner lines with them so that I can control that. Now, what you're seeing here with this white streak that I'm not coloring in just yet, it's a traditional Jack Kirby. It's a Jack Kirby line that is a power effect. And what that is her stinger, okay, where her gloves lit up. And where the modern Wasp has these guns and rockets or missiles or whatever, you know, the original one, her mom, Janet, this character, ended up having these great gloves that would shock you, and they were called stingers, and that's what she called them. So that's what we went with, and that's what you have here. So with this said, we're going to move into the red real quick. Man, you guys all made it. Hey, Sean, Noel, Johnny, Damien, thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm going to let that set a little bit. I just grabbed another blue. I'm going to let that set just a bit so that it'll dry up. I don't want to have that darker tone get washed out, so, or mud up the lighter blue. So I'm going to go in with a lighter one on this red here first. Now, I know this is a super light red, but I have a Sharpie on the side here, and I'm going to tone up with that a little bit once this sets and dries. So we have that kind of duality and the shadowing and whatnot. And this one will be a little bit deeper of a color once that's done. And I'm hoping this red's still not muddy because I used it a little bit. But it's a heavy oversaturation as well, so I have to be careful because these watercolor pens like to take off on me, and this red gets used so often, it's about ready to run. So I have to be very cautious and careful. Got to take precautions. There was a weather forecaster, meteorologist here by the news stations, and I thought I snagged that. That's why I paused. But anyway, yeah, he used to say you got to take precautions, and it sounded like he was saying almost like a southern draw for pecans. But Gary England, very nice guy. He has since retired many moons ago. But yeah, almost a decade now. Wow, man, that's crazy. Now that I think about it, he's been gone for a while. But yeah. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about the upcoming Marvel revival that they've been talking about for a little bit now. The Marvel Fresh Start. Have you seen these books? I mean, I hate to say so, but I called it. You know, plain and simple. I said that they were going to reboot it, and I said, you watch. They're not going to go back to the originals. What they're going to go back to the originals of is they're going to go back to the original Disney movie version. And if you check out Bleeding Cool, they put out an article, and they updated it of the new books that came out. Because originally when they posted it, they said, we'll show the books as they come out kind of thing. Well, guess what ended up happening? They ended up pumping out 5 titles, and it is exactly what you'd think it would be. It was Spider-Man for the Homecoming version from Marvel, the Civil War and Homecoming version. And I'm overlighting this a little bit because this is going to be a kind of a transference thing, so it's okay for it to run over. But anyway, what I was talking about was they did the Immortal Hulk. The Mighty Thor is back as the movie version Thor, and with both eyes, by the way. And then you have, let's see, Iron Man's in there, Spider-Man's in there. Everybody they made a movie about is pretty much in there. And then everybody else is going to be orphaned. Captain Marvel is in there for the upcoming movie. Black Panther is in there for the new Black Panther #1 series coming out. And then after that, man, I mean, it's all just open paste rehash stuff. And I'm not impressed. I'm really not. Um, I have to say, I knew they were going to do that. And it's very disappointing to me that they did. And I'm not, like I said, I'm just not impressed. I'm just not. And in most cases, most of my friends are really cool with it. And they're like, it's awesome. It's going to be great. Da, da, da. And I'm just like, what? Why would you say that? They just rehashed it again. And now they're trying to shove, the new Marvel down our throats a different way. Why would you do that? I mean, if I had a shot of going to Marvel right now and saying, I want to draw a comic book for you, and you're doing the original canon, and you really want to do an original reboot, I would love to work for you. I would love to see something go on, or come in with an original version of the series, or movie version of something and take it off and see that come back to where it goes into the original concept and canon. That would be beautiful. But as of right now, though, I mean, it's completely Disneyized and there's nothing left. And they've just orphaned the rest of the concepts. And by doing that, I'm checking my finger to make sure I don't have ink on it before I touch the card again. By doing that, they've left all of those other characters in limbo until they come out in a cartoon, or they guest cast in a movie, or in a series or whatever. And they're just leaving all those great properties just isolated for other things. So we're not getting a Marvel reboot. We're getting a Marvel franchise. And by that, I mean we're getting the Disney version coming out as Marvel Comics. So Marvel doesn't exist anymore. And I mean, I know a lot of people have complained about that for a long time now, but it is official. Marvel does not exist anymore. Marvel is a Disney IP property collection and is dormant. Unless you see it on film or screen, there is no more Marvel, because they've done exactly what I said they would do back in 2000 whenever they started this mess. And I'm hoping that they bring out a great line of comics. But like I said, I have a bad hunch about the fact that they're going to turn it around and they're going to just chop it all off and it's not going to exist anymore. But we'll have to see, Hey, Jim, you made it, man. Glad to see my buddy Jim there. And like I said, I don't want to be on the soapbox griping about this because that's not what I'm saying. I still have a love for Marvel and the properties involved, and I'll still be a fan. But that doesn't mean I have to like it creatively and market-wise. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense, because we as creators are getting wiped out because of the fact that Marvel and DC have just given up. I just saw this new thing where Gale is going to come back as I think it's Gale that's writing the new Plastic Man comic. You guys can check into that. Gail Simone is checking out as a writer for Plastic Man now, and they're doing the original version, the 1940s version, which DC basically stole and cloned and revamped, and they're going back to the public domain version of Plastic Man, the original criminal, and rebooting that. Which, that's cool if that's what they want to do, but don't say you created it when you know that you took the book just as much as anybody else does with public domain characters. I mean, Firestorm Comics, my company, is full of those characters, and I revamped them into the new original universe so I can control that. And Catman and all the other characters that I have, they're either original IPs or they're public domain IPs that I brought into my original universe. And everybody knows that. I haven't beat around the bush about that. I didn't lie about it. I didn't manipulate about it. And that's a big thing for me, to see DC and whatever other companies come out and say, well, I created that. It's it's not inspired by, and because Dynamite and Boom did that for a little bit. They took some properties they shouldn't have, and they even tried to steal some stuff. They tried to say it was public domain when it wasn't. John Carter from Mars, Prince of Mars, was in public domain. Certain portions of that are in public domain, but not all of it. And you have to be very cautious and careful about that kind of crap. And, you know, they got into a legal battle about it and had to change all their characters. And now they've gone explicit with the versions of what they have. So, you know, you got to be very cautious about how you do that, because you're going to get into some legal trouble real fast if you use somebody else's character and you don't have the pull to do that. You know, that's just one of those things. I've got a character coming up based on the Phantom, and, you know, I have a loophole for that, a legal loophole for that, to where I can do that. And I've had a couple of cease and desist letters, and it cracks me up because, you know, my attorneys are like, whatever, you know, you've done your job, you've done your due diligence, the property's yours, you know, you can do whatever you want with it. And it's one of those things where I have to be cautious about the version that I'm using, because it is in public domain. But in some parts, you know, that's a classic character. And then with the Black Panther coming out, it made it even more so of an issue, because of the fact some of those people didn't want that going out any further either, because of that effect. Not effect, a fact. Being that it was in public domain, and they ate it up. You know, it is what it is, though. So the Phantom Rising is coming out, and a lot of people are a little bit ticked off about that, and I'm okay with that. I really am. You know, but to see DC Comics say, you know, they own Plastic Man and whatnot, and it was created for them and junk, that's not true. And I hope they clarify that, because they did a little bit in the article talking about the original creator and stuff, but then they turned around and, you know, it was like, well, we're making, you know, this, we're bringing it back to the original fold, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what? Why? Because I have a version of that character that appears in a couple of my comics as well, which I'm totally up on it, because I have, you know, a copyright attorney that I work with, and got the legal stuff covered, and, you know, whatever. But it's just weird to see those big companies fishing for stuff like that. And then, you know, Marvel would come out and say, well, we're going to do a fresh start, and we're going to bring the properties back to the original fold. And the thing is, they're bringing them back to the original Disney fold, not the original fold of comics that we know them as for Marvel properties. So when you get those books and you get disappointed by it, don't freak out, because you know, that's what you're getting when you buy it. So know what you're getting when you go in there, and know that unfortunately that's the way that cookie crumbles, and it's fallen to the wayside. So, but, you know, I just had to say something about it. You know, if you're gonna say that, you know, you're gonna reboot the system and it's gonna be an awesome project, then reboot the system and make it an awesome project that we can be proud of and live up to as fans, as much as, you know, you're not trying to screw us over to think that it's something that it's not, because that's exactly what they're doing at Marvel right now. And that frustrates me that they're doing that to fans, because most of the fans won't know about Bleeding Cool, and they'll be thinking, you know, the kids coming up are going to be thinking that the movie version is the original, and that's the, you know, it's a Disney property, that's the original take on it, and that's, you know, that's what it is, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to miss out on 60, 70, 100 years of continuity, you know, by the time they grow up. And that's a sad thing, and we can't let that happen as creators. We just really can't let the characters just die off that way. So I'm very disappointed with Marvel and what they're doing. I mean, they're going to do it no matter what. I don't care. You know, I'm nobody to them, but still, that's my rant and take on it. And if you're a creator, get in there and create some books, you know, and start supporting the industry, because making a chance at Marvel and making a go at Marvel, unless it changes hands of ownership, which it never will, because nobody's going to let it go. You know, Disney's not going to let it go ever. And we're going to have to hang up that hat and just say it's done. You know what I mean? So they're reincarnating it right now, so that when they revamp it, they're doing their model and their version of it so that they can keep the copyright of it and keep the IP producing. So that's why they're reinventing it. Because everybody's like, well, why are they taking the original toll on it if that's such a big deal? Well, that's why they're reinventing it, because they need their version of it. You know, because the original version of Superman is going to come up here in just a couple of years through DC, and it's going to go into copyright, into public domain copyright zone, where you know, you can be able to use the 1930s and 40s version of Superman. Now, you won't be able to use the DC version that where they changed him from, you know, can leap a tall building in a single bound into, you know, the Superman that can fly. But, you know, you'll be able to use the original version. That's the way it works. And that's one of those things that's really, really bad in that regard, because people will hash it and, you know, they'll trash it and heck it up and whatever, and it'll be bad, but we will get through it just like always. So whatever goes on, goes on. But like I said, I'm not bashing either one. I'm just saying I was very disappointed with the fact that they went that route. So, but that's the business we're in. So anyway, off the soapbox now and getting back to this. I am using pencils on this because I want to get those base colors in, but then I wanted to do something a little different with the masking and whatnot, because this is the 1967 or 8 version, maybe 69, where she had the mask over her face and it changed up, because this didn't used to have that. And then she had a couple of appearances which the mask came down, the visor came down to protect her eyes. So we're going with that version right here. And I'm going to leave this very light because of the fact that this white gray look is going to stay there even when I flesh color her in a moment, which I'm going for that right now because it won't show through. That'll look like frosted glass. And we'll hide her face just fine. Yeah, that really pops. I like that. Now, I'm going to take this, if I can get it up here, I'm going to take this hot pink and do her lips this way. And the reason I'm doing a hot pink on her lips is because of the fact that I want it to really shine and look lip gloss style of the 60s rather than just bright red lips, you know. I want it to look a little more dynamic. So that's what I'm going for there. I'm going to grab this light pink, which I'm going to use on her wings. And the reason I'm doing that is because when they're in motion, they are this really cool liquid pink. And when they're static, they have that same kind of pink, but it's a little bit darker, like this one. So I really wanted to get that on there because it shows up so well and contrasts these reds and blues. And I'm, you know, and as far as the Marvel thing goes, I would like to submit something to them, but you know, what's the point if they're going to do something like that and they're not going to work with a guy like me anyway? I wish they would, and it would, and we've had this discussion multiple times. If they would, it would be great, but I don't think they're gonna. But you know, like Todd McFarlane always says, you don't need Marvel. You know, this day and age, we don't need to have any other publisher recognize us just for us to get published. So, and I don't think that Disney and Marvel are going to take off anymore to help out any artist unless they do an open casting campaign, and I don't see that happening because they can, you know, get their stuff in-house from all the South American artists way cheaper. And I'm starting to think that's the way that they've gone. But on a lighter note, though, let's try and get this going up the other direction here so that I don't have that drawn in on me too fast. On a lighter note, though, comics are coming. Comics are coming. And I still love these characters, and I'll still draw them in their original form. But I can't say that we're going to see much of a positive change as far as comics go for Marvel and Disney right now, because they've turned it into merchandising, as they always do with everything they do. And that's the sad effect of it. So, but just to let you guys know, you know, the heads up on that, when I said I found out I said before that when I found out more about it, I would say more about it, and that's where we're at right now. You know, they've announced that they've got 4 or 5 titles coming out, and they're all, unfortunately, reboots for the movies, the movie incarnation, rather than the original comic book version, which that's sad because they're going to kill all that continuity and all that legacy behind it. So, but that's their choice. Okay, rotating this tip a little bit. I'm going to get these fun lines here. And once I get done with this, I'm going to catch up on some stuff for the comics that I've got going and Firestorm, and get those out for you guys. So you can expect some of those this week. That's going to be awesome. Looking forward to that. More this weekend. But, yeah. It took forever. And now, watch for that. But yeah, I had to get that automobile problem taken care of because you know how things just go nuts all at once? That's pretty much what happened to me here. I got my servers fixed up, got my hosting service up, got my sites all back up, got everything situated to where I could open the floodgate, and then whammo. It's tune-up time for the vehicle. So that's what we're looking at there. But I'm going to grab this really cool light yellow here. I'm kind of buff this in a little bit. Buff this in. So we have a little bit of a color here, Jack Kirby 60s style. Great contrast. Really dig that. Then I'm going to get back to work for a little while. You guys are awesome for hanging out with me. Thank you very much, even though I went on a soapbox moment there for a minute. But anyway, we got this bad boy done. Hope it looks good. Hope you dig it. Hey, Freddie, Jimmy, nice to see you. Lucas. Let's see. I skipped around on this one, and you guys are going to have to tell me which one you'll see next. I've got I'm going to take a break from the Thundercats for a little bit, so I'm not going to do, and He-Man, so I'm not going to do Battlecat just yet. I have Ember from my buddy Brian and Brant over there at the Kickstarter campaign they did. So I've got Eric Draven the Crow coming up. I've got Morbius, Michael Morbius from Spider-Man, and I've got Odin from Thor. And I've got the Hulk Prime challenge here where he's knocking out, the Hulk is knocking out Prime. And I've got Machine Man coming up as well, Brainiac. So this is, I call him the Machine Man, always have. I know there's another character, but this is Brainiac. You can see the Legion of Doom Brainiac ship back there. This is Brainiac. So I've got him coming up, and I've got these guys coming up. I'm going to be inking these tonight and tomorrow. So I'm going to be doing a couple. I've also got, coming up here pretty soon, I also have Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I have, let's see, Banshee coming up. We still got him to do. I've got, let's see, that's pretty much all I've got in front of me right now that I can really dig out. There's the Mummy I did the other night that I'll be doing live as well. So we still got a few more to go before we hit the benchmark of 165, or 1 year and 365. So then we're going to go beyond that and going to be doing some different stuff. Still going to be doing some cards, but still going to be doing some different stuff on the show too. Getting more into the how-to stuff and all that, and moving forward there. Still got War Machine and Loki coming up too, by the way. I'll show you guys those real quick. There's Loki, and there's War Machine. So we've got those coming up in the mix. Let's see. I've got the Creeper for 1 or 2 more. And I've got Bizarro from Superman, the clunky classic version. So we got that going on. And then next week, that'll push through probably the next week or so. And then next week I've got that big piece from He-Man coming up, and we're gonna knock this stuff out. So I think you guys are gonna like some of these. At least I hope you do. And as always, I'm gonna call it a night with we've got this rock for a little bit of time, and let's leave it better for the next generation. Talk to you guys tomorrow.